What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Endless TBR. My name is Christian, and this is my YouTube channel where I love to talk about all things book related in my life. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to click on this video where I'm going to be doing my midway through the month, October 2025 reading update right off the bat. If my voice sounds a little weird, I am coming off of a cold. I am very scratchy. My voice is cracking a lot. If it sounds a lot deeper than it normally does, that is why. Maybe it doesn't sound weird over the mic, but to me, it definitely sounds a lot different. And I just wanted to address that. The last couple days, I could barely talk at all, but I wanted to knock this video out today because it's supposed to be like my mid-month reading update, and it's getting past the middle of the month, so I wanted to knock that out. But if my voice does any weird stuff throughout this video, that is the reason why. With that being said, let's get into it. So October has been an awesome month so far. I've been loving everything that I've read. If you watched my previous video, you'll know that I set the bar really, really high for this month. Quite a few books, a lot bigger than the normal TBR size that I lay out for myself. But that is because in the previous months, I've been kind of finding books on my radar and I've been pushing them back to October because I felt that they would fit better with that spooky season vibe. And slowly that list of books has grown. And now we're here and I have a ton of books that I wanted to read. And I said, you know what, let's do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be doing a lot more reading this month than I normally do, but that is okay. It's fun to have a big goal that I'm trying to meet in a month. And so let's get into it. The first book that I finished this month was Temptation of the Force from Star Wars The High Republic. This was one I started in September, meant to finish in September, but I did not, and I finished it on like October 3rd or 4th. But as far as Star Wars High Republic adult novels go, this one is okay. It's on the more bottom tier for me. I think all of the adult novels so far in the High Republic have been either 4 or 5 star reads. I gave this one a 4 star read. It was fun. It was entertaining. It progressed the story where it needed to. It just wasn't one of my favorites. And I was a little surprised. I thought there was going to be a little more emphasis on the romance between Avar and Elzar because they've had a lot of romantic tension throughout the series so far. You got them on the cover together. You have the word temptation on there. I was like, ooh, this is going to be a spicy Star Wars novel, and it wasn't really. I mean, they touched on the romance a little bit, but it wasn't anything to like gawk at. Maybe that's because I'm coming off of A Court of Silver Flames, where the romance is especially spicy, and then going into this, I'm like, this ain't nothing. But it was a fun book, and I'm very excited to finish up the High Republic here very soon. The next book that I finished was Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. This is a required reading that I had for a creative writing class that I'm taking this semester, and yeah, so I had to read this one and I had to read On Writing by Stephen King. Both of them are great books. I would put On Writing higher than this book. Maybe that's because I'm biased. I love Stephen King. I am not familiar with Anne Lamott as an author. I've not read any of her books. So maybe if I get a little more into her bibliography and then I go back and read this, I'll appreciate it a little more. Fans of her work might really love this book more so than the Stephen King book. But for me, On Writing was a 5 star. This one's like a high 4 star for me. Like it's still really, really great and has an awesome sense of humor that shines throughout this book. And it's a lot of great writing tips for aspiring writers. A lot of funny and personal anecdotes about her life that have contributed to her life as a reader. And overall, if you're a fan of writing and you want to become a writer, this is another great book that will help you out along the way. And I'm glad my professor put it in the required reading for the month. So that is Bird by Bird, a great book for people that want to learn more about writing. Next up, we have a book that is part of the book club that I am in with me and my friends, and that book is Manhunt by Gretchen Faulkner Martin. This was a definitely the most interesting read of the month so far. I went in totally blind, like I like to with all of my book club books. I don't research anything about it. I don't look up what it is. This is a splatterpunk book I later found out about. That is the genre of horror that it is. And it is a very, like, right off the bat, it is very, very intense and very vivid. And basically, what the story is it follows two trans women, Beth and Fran, and they basically are on the hunt looking for testicles. Like, there's this there's this plague that has broken out, and men with like high testosterone levels are infected by this plague that turns them into like murderous, ravenous like zombies. And it's like this post-apocalyptic world, and basically they're trying to farm like kidney pieces, kidney glands, and testicles because it helps create like estrogen, which people are taking to fend off this virus. That is a very, very loose and probably poor execution of what the actual plot is. But that's kind of like that's the gist of it, what I gathered from it. And what I will say is this book was very entertaining. Like from beginning to end, I was never not entertained by this book. Um, it's not I don't it's not for me. The splatterpunk genre is not one that I think is one that I'm going to like a lot. And this was definitely not written with me as the target audience. This is much more aimed at like the trans community, which I did appreciate. But I will say that Faulkner Martin's description, like when it comes to anything, when it comes to scene and setting, or when it comes to like the violence, and there's a lot of like intense sexual encounters in this book. When it comes to the vivid descriptions, like her writing is very, very good. Like I felt like I was right in there with the characters as well. So I don't know if this book is going to be for everybody, but I was very entertained reading it. And I don't know if I'm going to read more in the punk genre. I'm sure I will at some point down the line. But I don't regret reading it. It was a lot of fun. So that is Manhunt there. The next book that I finished is one I actually finished last night. I've done a lot of reading in the last 24 hours, as you're going to see. But that book is Horns by Joe Hill. This is the first full-length Joe Hill novel that I've read. I finished his 20th Century Ghosts short story collection a couple months ago and really enjoyed it. So figured it was time to give one of his full-length novels a try. My fiance recommended this one, so I read it, and I love this book so much. Like I was hooked into it, could barely put it down from beginning to end. I adored it, and I've actually seen this movie a while ago. I don't remember much about the movie other that Daniel Radcliffe was in it, and Daniel Radcliffe had horns growing out of his head. So going into this book was nice because it's not like the movie spoiled what was going to happen, because I really didn't remember too much, but I enjoyed it so much. So basically the book follows this character. His name is Iggy Parish, and he wakes up one day to find horns growing out of his head, and he finds that something to do with the horns, people just are divulging all their deepest, darkest, awful secrets to him just at face value for no reason that he can find. And also, people are just telling him exactly what they think of him to his face with no filter. Because basically, a year before this book takes place, Iggy Parrish's girlfriend is murdered in the woods, and everybody in the town that he lives in thinks that Iggy did it. Like they are convinced that he did it. So everybody in the town hates him. So he finds that when he's going around to all these people, they're just like, "Hey Iggy, you suck. I wish you were in jail," and all this terrible stuff. And it's Iggy just like trying to figure out what the horns are and why they're making people say these things to him. And it was just captivating from the beginning. And there's a lot of backstory in here. You go through Iggy's just his tragic backstory. Like it's really a tragic character study, and the life of his girlfriend and other people around him. And I really just appreciated this book a lot. I won't say anymore because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but this was one I could not put down, and an easy 5 star for me. Horns by Joe Hill. And then, oh, I forgot one thing. I did finish an audiobook this month. I have been, if you watch a couple of my previous videos, there's this author named Nick Spalding whose audiobooks I've been reading or listening to on my commutes to and from work, and I've just kind of kept him going. Like he's a really great audiobook author, like for drives, because his books are just super easy to listen to, like not super crazy on detail. They're like the perfect listen to while driving books. I finished 3 of his audiobooks last month. I just wanted to keep it going throughout this month. Like I'm trying to get through his whole bibliography. And so I finished the book called Bricking It, which is about this brother and sister who inherit like this Victorian era house from their grandmother in her will, and they want to renovate the house to sell it to make a lot of money. And just in like a Nick Spalding fashion, just things go wrong, and there's all kinds of bizarre, crazy, funny occurrences that happen. And this is probably the funniest book that I've read by him. Like I laughed out loud a lot. There is a cow in this book that just gets into all kinds of hilarious predicaments, and I really appreciated it. So I'm keeping the Nick Spalding train going. I'm currently about 70% through one of his other audiobooks, which is called Old Boys, and I'm enjoying that a lot. So I'll talk more about that at the end of the month when I do my recap. But still keeping the Nick Spalding train going strong. And then one I finished this morning was this one, Gal Tanabe's manga adaptation through Dark Horse of The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft. And this was an incredible read. I am a huge Lovecraft fan. I love everything that man has ever written, and I just saw this on Amazon one day, and I was like, I want to pick this up because this looks so cool. It had really good reviews, and he did such an awesome job at adapting this story. This is the first adaptation I've read by this author. Apparently, he has done like 4 or 5 other adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft stories. I 100% plan on picking them up now because this was a really really great adaptation that stays true to the base story, but adds things to make it fit really well into the manga format. And Tanabe's drawing skills are just incredible here. They are so detailed and terrifying, and especially when you finally get that glimpse of Cthulhu towards the end of the book, it's so satisfying because it is such a detailed and horrific rendition of the character. So definitely check these out if you like Tanabe's work. So that was that one. A lot of great books so far that I've read. And then one I started this morning right after I finished Call of Cthulhu is The Fisherman by John Langan. This is a book that has been on my Goodreads want to read list for well over a year at this point, almost going on 2 years. Finally decided to pick it up because it just felt like a great book to read in the month of October. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only about 50 pages in. See my bookmark right there, about a fourth of the way through the book. It's been mostly character work and backstory so far. We haven't really gotten into like the spooky stuff. We're starting to get a little hint of where the plot is going, but for the most part, it's just been character introductions. But it's been really great. It's very personally written. It's told from first person perspective, and it's just very you're really in the mindset of the main character Abraham, and I really enjoyed it. He lost his wife recently, and basically he's gotten into fishing. Like fishing has kind of been the thing that has allowed him to overcome his grief in a way. And there's a lot of talking about fishing at the beginning of this book. I will say I am not a fisherman. I've never fished in my life. If you're worried that you need to know a lot about fishing to appreciate this book, it's not true because I'm appreciating it very well so far, even though it does talk a lot about fishing. But the scene is there. I can see that this is going to be a very well written and fun book, and I'm just waiting for the point where it really starts to get into the plot, to where I assume things are going to go wrong, or because this is a horror novel and things always go wrong in scary books. So that is The Fisherman. I'll give more updates on that in a later video. So that leaves really quickly, just going to show the other books that I plan on reading for this month. If this is your first video of mine that you're seeing, those books are Night Shift by Stephen King, and then The Long Walk by Stephen King. Gonna do a double Stephen King feature this month. I have 3 Goosebumps books that I want to read, 3 that I remember reading from my childhood that I really enjoyed: Why I'm Afraid of Bees, and A Night in Terror Tower, and Stay Out of the Basement. Couldn't read there for a second, so I plan on reading those. And then I'm gonna top it off. I'm gonna end the month with a classic double feature of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein right there and Bram Stoker's Dracula. Very excited for these. I'm a little nervous for Dracula. It's a good 400-page book, and I have a lot to read this month, as you've seen, but I plan on getting through it. I plan on sticking to my guns. I'm going to read a lot in the next 15 days. I'm very excited for it. So that is my recap so far of how I'm doing in October. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Oh, one other thing that I will say, and this is in relation to kind of the Call of Cthulhu and the Fisherman. One of my favorite, like, I don't even know if I'd call it a subgenre, but I love horror that has to do with the ocean and like water. I think that's mainly because one of my biggest fears is like deep water. I'm absolutely terrified of it. So I love reading about books that have like sea monsters or like leviathans and giant fish and stuff like that. So if you're watching this video, if you know any books that fit into like aqua horror. I don't even know what if it's an official genre. I'll call it aqua horror. But if you have one that you know of, recommend it in the comments because I want to read it. And just having read Call of Cthulhu again and having reading The Fisherman, where I'm sure there's going to be a lot of water scary stuff. I'm really back into thinking about that, and I would love some book recommendations for you from y'all. So thank you so much again for watching this video. Stay tuned at the end of the month. I'll do a more in-depth review of these books as well as a ranking of my least favorite to my favorite. My name is Christian once again, and I will see you all in the next video. There's my remote. Goodbye.